Good morning and welcome to Enterprise Weekend on Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike. Now we move straight to our newspaper segments, but before that, we implore you to join us and have a say in what we say by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV7 and visit our website also at www.enterprisetvnews.com. All right, moving to our newspaper segments, we have Cyril Baku in the studios. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So straight up, let's move on to our newspaper headlines today. But before that, it's important that we see here a very interesting story. Reps pass bill reverts to old national anthem. Cyril.
It's a big one. And let me say very early in the day that I'm an advocate for the reverting to the old national anthem. I've had those who say, what will it change? What Nigerians need is not a change of music, but a change of mindset, a change of attitude, a change of our approach to Nigeria. But the fact is that how we see our country is fed by certain things, our national symbols. If you compare the old anthem and the new anthem, don't make a mistake about it. What you say every day influences how you think, and how you think shapes your attitude towards your country. It was in 1978 that Obasanjo introduced a new anthem and added the pledge. The woman that wrote the pledge was a professor of I think she passed on some years ago. I was privileged to meet her one-on-one. But the national anthem, as composed by Michael Odias, I think who was also passed on the police band that basically put it together. The idea was that when a nation is being born, the old anthem, Nigeria we hail thee. I think the first stanza, Nigeria we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Imagine yourself as a Nigerian in diaspora, reciting those lines to your head. You will miss your native land. But the one of Obasanjo, well, because the reps are calling Obasanjo anthem. Well, because it was military head of state, okay? But what does the anthem say? Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey. That's a militaristic way of eliciting national feeling, so. But you cannot command us to love our country. You can only appeal to us, especially because we're a country of diverse cultures and ethnic groups. So the only way to bring us together is to admit that though tribe and tongue may differ, something is connecting us and that we agree to be so connected. But the one that was introduced by Obasanjo in 78, as it is now being touted, arise your compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland. I mean, come on, you are trying to impose it. They can sing it under the gun. But the terms of what they are singing, is it what they willingly give, if they had a choice to? If they will not so willingly and by their own choice submit to nation or to national, it means you don't have a country. And that song is a song based on to vanity. But the old anthem, in my opinion, is a song that is more congenial, more peaceful, more willing to admit that we are who we are as a country, and yes, something is bringing us together. The contradiction is that Professor Julius Ihonbere from Edo State, who introduced the bill, was Obasanjo's former advisor when he was civilian president. He was president's political advisor. So I was wondering why he would even be the one to introduce that bill. I mean, in the manner of speaking, the shadow of his boss's former legacy should be something he should be somehow sort of willing to protect in a subtle way. But how he became even the one who pushed the bill, and if you look at the reps, they expedited the hearing, first reading, second reading, and I think even third reading. Now, the thing is that these same house of reps are the ones who have been pushing for a return from the presidential system to parliamentary, which again was an Obasanjo legacy. Obasanjo was the one that, when Nigeria gained independence, and if you look at it all over the world, the idea of a president is essentially and almost exclusively an American creation. All over the world, Europe, for example, when it's all over the world, Europe is the center of global civilization today, right? Europe runs on the republican system, which was a replacement to monarchy. And in parliament, you have a prime minister. Parliament is the soul of democracy. And so around the world, the idea is, if you look at Italy as the prime minister, Spain as the prime minister, England as the prime minister, Belgium prime minister, Portugal, former prime minister of Portugal is the current secretary general of the United Nations. all of them have prime ministers. It's the idea that they've moved from monarchy. Nigeria also used to have monarchs back in the day. We are still dealing with the issue of the Emir of Kano thing and so on. There was the very powerful Oba of Benin. There was a Alaafin for you. Now then later on, we now have what we've come to accept as the Oni of Ife. Okay, you had the King George of Opobo and all these people, and so. But the point is, when the British left, they left the parliamentary system of government, which is the ideal thing to do. It was when Obasanjo again was in power in the 70s. He said, okay, let's move from the parliamentary system where power was largely drawn from the parts into the American presidential system of government where everything goes to the center. They failed to realize that the Americans, in abandoning Britain as colonial power, will not have anything to do with Britain. And that in their own system, we even poorly copied from the Americans. The powers of Congress. In America, for example, the vice president is the president of the Senate. Did we do that here? We did not. But the long and short of the story is this. The old anthem, in my opinion, is a better version of who we are and who we can be as Nigerians, as opposed to the militaristic way of saying "arise." I mean, you're not talking to robots.
Okay, yes. Yes, I was going to cut you somewhere, even though I feel quite scolded by your submission. Beyond the fact that the old anthem evokes a lot of Nigerianness, so to speak.
Yes.
Is it the right time? Should we be driving such conversation at this time, looking at what we are faced with as a country?
So if I was president, if by executive order I could have done it, I would have done it on the first day I resumed office.
Why?
Let's see, because any president who is willing to recreate this country will go back. Of course, we can't take everything from the past, but we'll go back to the ancient foundation and look for the things the original founders knew were necessary. So for example, in the first constitution that we had, in the first republic, there was provision for referendum. It is no longer there today. Why? By referendum, two things happened. It was by referendum that that southern Cameroon broke away from Nigeria and went to Cameroon. You think you're free? You're not free in Nigeria. It was by referendum, by plebiscite that from the southern, from the western region, they created a midwestern region. By referendum, states ought to be created by referendum. How many states in Nigeria today are created by the people themselves? So it was a military decree. The first one came in 1967, decree 14 of that year, okay, on May 27. And May 27 is owned by the corner. River State, Cross River State, Lagos, maybe Kano. So all of them are created by that first decree. Later on, when Morita came in 76, I think he created his own states again. Okay, Babangida created some. No, Shagari didn't create because Shagari was civilian elected. So it means that Nigeria can only move forward when somebody with absolute power comes and says, move here, move here, move here. It is us who as civilians ought to sit down and say, let us have a discussion on how our country should progress. But we've not had that power. For as long as we don't have the power to, even elections, how many times have you voted in Nigeria? So for as long as civilians don't have the power to determine their destiny, it means that we are not truly free. For me, it is not an argument about, so what will the anthem really do for us? What I'm saying is what I'm saying. Music is a powerful thing. Look at, since I've been small, I've been reciting, what's it called? I pledge to Nigeria, my country. Let me just make a detour. The woman that wrote that anthem, her children went on holiday to Ghana and came back and said, Mommy, in Ghana, after you sing the national anthem, there's a pledge that they normally recite. Well, how come there's no pledge in Nigeria? They kept on telling her. One day, she said, okay, let her even write the pledge. I think my husband told her, so she started writing. She wrote and wrote and wrote. Her husband was close to Obasanjo back then. So he went and met him and said, hey, head of state, sir, this is what, The head of state said, okay, let me look at it. He just took his red, and this is the danger of military rule. He took his red pen and crossed one portion of the pledge. Chinyere and Henry. The part he left out is the part we don't know. The place his pen cut is what we've been reading as national pledge since God knows when. You see what I'm saying? The national anthem also, in us, yes, they will claim that they opened up the referendum and said, anybody, no, not referendum, like they threw it open and said, anybody who can write a new, but what was wrong with the old anthem? Any country in which people cannot independently, willingly, by choice, agree to be together, agree to, what is the NYC intended to achieve is what the old anthem was also striving to achieve. To say we should mix together so that after the war they said there should be reconciliation. If you school in Sokoto, go to Niger. But is that what, today, somebody can be born in Mushin, school at Lasu, NYC will be in Mushin again. We've come back to that point.
Right.
But the national anthem was an attempt originally at forcing national unity. I think that if it opens up such a vista for us to, I mean, if you look at all the other lines that come with it, it's even a prayer that even if we're not as strong as we think we should be, God should still keep us together. It's better for me than what we're singing today.
Right.
Very true. You know, well, this still doesn't negate the fact that it still looks like an old wine in a new wine bottle.
Right.
Yes, because at this time, I think the most important thing we should be talking about is, self vindication. You know, out of corruption, out of just so many things that murder this country, and not. So good national anthem, good national anthem. Let's move on to it. All right, so quickly, let's move on to our next daily, and it's coming from the Nation newspaper. And the big story here says electricity tariffs to crash with time, says Minister. And the writer says federal government targets 600 megawatts generation by year-end. Sub-writer Adela Bupa, sector reforms have attracted investment. And
the top strip, we have Tinubu to Nigerians. Task governors to take responsibilities seriously. And the writer says effective local government administration critical to development. And the sub-rider, nation no longer bleeding, printing paper money. Economy grew by 3% in the first quarter of 2024, and yes, growth driven by all services. And on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, we have Sanusi. No man can take what God has given. Let's take a dive at that quickly.
Well, Sanusi is now saying that what God has given him, no man can take from him. I am not surprised that he's saying that. But it looks to me that the Kano elite need to come together to have some sort of consensus. It looks like far-fetching. It looks like a far-fetched reality. Because now you have the Gandujia movement and the Kwankwasia movement. And it looks as if Gandujia people win election at the next vote, what will they do? They will remove Sanusi and bring back Aminu Bayero. And if Kwankwaso people win election again, if Bayero was there, they will move Bayero and bring Sanusi back. So is that what we really want to be doing? Sanusi is back as Emir, but I think that it is important there is some sort of honor and reverence brought back to that throne. We saw yesterday when the governor was saying that a judge in America was the one giving a restraining order for the new Emir not to be sworn in. And the governor should obey that restraining order, not to swear Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi. We have said it time and again. Parents have right to discipline their children. But the time comes when the king cannot be the only thing that you have to. Yes, if a judge speaks, he has spoken. But a judge will sit down in the border abroad, as they say, give an order, and the governor should obey it here. For what? Shouldn't there be sanctions for the judge who is doing that sort of thing? Sanusi is back as Emir, but I just hope that it won't be a case of he'll be there for some 20 years. When a new person comes, they kick him out and bring another person in. Who knows? Fine.
All right. All right. So without further ado, Henry, let's move on to the Daily Trust. And the top street we have...
the Daily Trust newspaper. Again, CBN sacks over 300 staff. And the writer says it pencils more for this engagement. And we still have on the story mixed feelings in Karaye, Bichi, Gaya, and Rano as dethroned emirs leave.
And we have on the bottom strip, AGF, police, health ministers, showcase achievement.
Yes, and also they stole my rented cat.
Right, so let's just quickly focus on the big story here. Again, CBN sacks over 300 staff, pencils more for disengagement. In a time where we are faced with a lot, Mr. Cyril, we are seeing that the CBN is disengaging and intends to disengage more. Speak to what this does to the general feeling right now in the country.
It does a lot of harm. A central bank of a country should not be caught in this sort of scandal. It's a scandal. Because, first of all, if you didn't have to employ them, you shouldn't have employed them. Okay. A CBN is not a private company that is of no consequence. Investors, when they want to come, how a central bank performing is one of the indices they look at before they can bring their money into an economy. So if a CBN can be sacking as much as in January, February, it was almost 200 that they sacked. Now 300 and many more to go. Right. The memo that was cited yesterday authorizing the sack. It was not even signed. And then they said civil package will be discussed, will be communicated, whatever, in due course. What does that even mean? A CBN, didn't they plan this? I hope that they're not planning to put their friends and party members on, at the CBN. Because the purpose for the sack, for me, is unclear. It's unclear. Didn't they plan how to do this thing properly? A CBN, sacking people like in hundreds. And it's a normal thing. Isn't this a scandal, really? And then the government that has its priorities cut out for it will spend 90 billion naira for people who are going on pilgrimage. And then when Total takes 6 billion naira to go to Angola, we are crying that they should have come to us. It means we didn't even need the money in the first place.
Right.
Because you can waste but I'm concerned, why is the CBN?
But don't you think that is closely related to the scandal? Godwin Emefiele is going through.
No,
so maybe those people they are showing the way out might be connected to this.
Who is being punished for the wrong recruitment? People that are sacking are not. They include directors. These deputy assistant directors, managers, assistant managers, right from the highest cadre down to the last. You can't tell me that at a point they won't replace some people there. I suspect that they want to bring their friends and cronies and people that they know into that case. A CBN should not be subject to this kind of. There should have been a better way to handle this sort of thing.
Very true.
They could have been redeployed first, then disengaged. You don't sack from a central bank this way. Imagine this happening at the Federal Reserve. It will be global scandal, really.
Right.
A CBN, a central bank of a country.
Well, so finally and quickly, let's move on to our last day for today from the Saturday Punch newspaper. The big story: federal government assessment portal. Nigerians rate power defense, agri-education ministers poorly. The right that says ministers rated on economic reforms, national security, food security, and unlocking energy, amongst others. And
the bottom strip, we have 1 year on. Nigerians eagerly awaiting dividends of Tinubu's renewed hope agenda.
Now, for the want of time, Cyril, let's dig on this.
Well, I have my. Why should an assessment portal be the one scoring the ministers? Somebody employed them. His name is Mr. President. He should receive, and was one who gave them KPIs. He should obtain the performance indices, assess them, then do what he needs to do internally, then address Nigerians on what he has done in 1 year. The ministers are not the ones that we paid or that we employed. Those people are there. They answer to the president, not to Nigerians, primarily. So the president, he should do the needful. You may hear now that after 1 week, that assessment portal will say that overall the president has scored up to 70%. Just a few ministers didn't perform. That's where that thing is going. What is the purpose of a portal? For me, it just looks like a landing pad to deflect attention from the real things, so that they will say, okay. It was Nigeria that will take them good, and then the whole thing ends.
Yeah, very well. So that's just about the time we have for our newspaper review. So to say thank you to Cyril Abakwe just for being part of our show today, and just to let you know he will still be here with us to take on our main conversation for today. And when we return, Lagos Federal High Court grants forfeiture of $4.7 million and 830 million naira and other assets linked to ex-CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. More details in a moment.